guys, and welcome to another OBSEC Battle Report. My name's Mike, and today we're covering Horus Heresy Battle Report, 1750 points as you just saw, against a good buddy of mine, Sam, who came up today for a trip from Albany. It's about a 4-hour drive from Perth, so it was great for Sam to come up and sneak in a game while he was up here. As you can see, we're playing a Horus Heresy mission. Clash the Line is the deployment, and Onslaught is the mission, so you're getting kill points in the first turn. And then other than that, there's an objective in each deployment zone. And, as you can see, Sam's got first turn, and we're kicking it off with the Ultramarines. Sam's list is one that he's going to be running at a tournament in a couple of weeks' time. And it's quite a solid list, all things considered. That Spartan full of Terminators, a Dreadclaw drop pod, which he forgot to roll for us, which he's about to do now. The Sicarian, the Contemptor, and then the Rhino as well. Now he's obviously running Pride of the Legion for the Rite of War, which allows him to field the veterans as troops, alongside the Terminators. And I'm running the new Rite of War, which allows me to take a Primarch as my HQ, so I'm actually fielding Fulgrim today with my Emperor's Children. Now, if you've seen the Objective Secured website, you'll have seen my Emperor's Children a couple of weeks ago. It's probably more than that. They were converted back before the first book from Forgeboard came out. They're all plastic Marines that are heavily converted to be Legion Marines. You can see Sam's Dreadclaw landing now. And then he flat outs it and puts it straight back where he wanted it, which is obviously one of the bonuses of the Dreadclaw. Sam's list is very elite. Mine's pretty much the models I had at the time. He chose to stay within the Dreadclaw, which was probably a sensible move, because I had very limited weaponry that could actually harm it. So I've got a multi-melter on the jet bike unit in the back there. I've got some las cannons in the heavy support team. I've got some strength 6 from the Cacophony. We were playing the updated rules for them as well, which was really cool. And then obviously I can throw crack grenades, and Fulgrim will have a shot at it as well. So, wasn't a great turn for me. A lot of looking up at the rules in this as well, because I hadn't played with my Emperor's Children in quite some time, so it was a matter of just checking out some of the more intricate parts of their special rules, particularly when it comes to the Cacophony and Fulgrim. Fulgrim in this game equipped with Fireblade, and I think that's probably the more sound choice 9 times out of 10. So here we are shooting Cacophony and las cannons and multi-melters and everything in that damn Dreadclaw to try and get it open. That's the Cacophony firing, and Sam jinking at that point as well. Start throwing some grenades at him. And that last grenade was literally the last shooting attack I had. It was on it had taken 2 hull points from the las cannons and the Cacophony, and the multi-melter had missed, and it wasn't looking good. And I lobbed a single crack grenade and managed to pull it down, which was awesome, because what you can't really see from this video is Fulgrim is stood, as you can see, I've got that little 6-inch G-Force, Gale Force 9 template there, looking at charge ranges. I've got some bolter fire here as well from the tactical squad at them, but not really significant when you start talking about Caesarian. They are just too bricky. I think I killed 1 in the volley. Overwatch did nothing. I threw the Assault Marines in first. They were the closest. And they'd only walked, so they had the reroll if need be as well. And you can just see that hint of red on the right-hand side of the drop pod. That's Fulgrim's cape. And it's at this moment we discover how bad Fulgrim is in a challenge and what he can and can't do. Now, the Praetor means that I had to issue a challenge because he's weapon score 6. Sam chose to accept that challenge with one of the Caesarian, which was a very sensible thing to do in 6th edition when the rules obviously came out around challenges. In 7th edition, of course, those wounds flow over into the unit, and all Sam did at that point by accepting that challenge was give me extra attacks. The boarding shield's offering very little protection when Fulgrim picks up 9 dice. It might have even been 10, I forget now. But there was much AP2 rending and pain and suffering, and I made him take the normal wounds first before we hit the murderous strikes, and the Praetor was about the 3rd in the queue. The net result of it, though, was that, as you can see here, I took the Praetor and I took a couple of Marines' heads, which was awesome because that Praetor was actually a significant danger to my army. And the fact that Fulgrim killed him long before he could get to swing, and then I've got Sonic Screeches on a lot of my sergeants in this list as well, meant that with my pile-in moves here, I lose a couple of Marines from the Assault Marines to the Caesarean. Unfortunately, one of those was the Sergeant for the squad, which would come back to haunt me later in the game. I'd forgotten Caesarean have Artificer armor, and so made sure he could swing with his power sword, which of course just bounced off. Now, at this point I've also killed the Legion banner, so the unit is no longer fearless. They've lost combat by a lot, and Fulgrim's initiative is even more. And they can't actually escape. So that kills him, and the two units consolidate. Now, I've used the drop pod as cover here, and shuffled about the Assault Marines as well, who were sort of struggled and strung out. So that was an excellent turn for me. I killed the drop pod, I killed the Caesarean, and I killed the Praetor. That was 3 kill points turn 1, which was fantastic. Now there's 8 Legion Terminators in that Spartan, I believe it was. I think it was 8. And that's a big tactical squad at the back there, you can see. Now crucially at this particular moment, you can see those the Mortis shuffling and the Sicarian shuffling. Now, we made a mistake at this point. We assumed that the Sicarian's guns were very, very long range, and 60 inches, and it wasn't until later in the game we actually looked it up and discovered they were 48. So he was plinking shots up at the that broken bastion at the back left-hand corner of the table where my heavy support team are, and we discovered that they were out of range for most of the game. So that was me grabbing my Emperor's Children dice. I actually had some purple ones made up a few years ago to match the army, and I thought, well, I might as well use them. This is the Terminators now firing into the tactical squad at the back there. Oh no, sorry, that was the Sicarian into the Assault Marines. And that dreaded Mortis. That Mortis Dreadnought would just come back to haunt me later in the game as well, as you'll see shortly. Couple more Marines dead there. Now Sam took an interesting route with this. He elected, rather than trying to charge the command squad, he would have a go at the tactical Marines. And I think that was probably a sensible call, given Fulgrim was stood there and would be striking first, and those Terminators weren't in a good place. However, it did give me a chance to overwatch now with a 15 strong, I think it was 15 strong, unit of tactical Marines in rapid fire range. I kill one, which was crucial, because he now has to charge, and he doesn't quite get what he wants out of this charge. Now, you'd think that 5 or 6 Terminators would be more than ample to deal with 14 or 15 Marines. And at this point, my Marines actually do some serious harm. They're all armed with close combat weapons. So Sam gets, we do Sam's attacks with his power weapons first. He obviously wins combat at this particular moment, because those power fists and chain fists are now piling in. Doesn't kill as many as I thought, but what it does mean is that I do get away because of Implacable Advance. I do sneak another kill there at the end with the power fist. Sorry, not Implacable Advance, they're Cataphracti, they're not allowed to sweeping advance. So I fall back, and he's forced to consolidate. Now, rather than going back towards the Spartan and obviously back towards Fulgrim, he elects to take a more roundabout approach. So my tactical Marines regroup and now rally. The Cacophony there shuffling about as well to try and bring as many guns as I can to bear. Now at this point I make a decision with those Assault Marines that I really need to at the very least tie that Contemptor up. There's only 6 Marines there, 5 Marines there, and they really they're not interested so much in killing it. They've only got crack grenades. The Sergeant had melter bombs, he's dead. The goal here is to just stop it firing at me, because it will just kill those bikes very quickly. and it's a significant threat. It'll also keep the area blocked up in terms of line of sight for the Sicarian. There's a few tactical advantages to just locking it down with those assault marines. Fulgrim coming up with the bikes behind as well, just to try and add some support. So some heavy bolter fire and some melter guns at the multi-melter rather from the bikes at the Rhino to no effect, and then the command squad making a run move. The Contempt are now lining up its shot. For the Overwatch, I make the charge, and that's a really crucial thing. It really does put a little crimp in an otherwise neat sort of fire lanes there for that Sicarian at the back of the table. Now, this is where I learned to hate the Spartan. I've never actually had to face a Spartan before. All of my heresy battles have been very big pitched affairs at 20, 250, 2500 and hundreds of, literally 100 marines on either side. So me having to deal with a Spartan was a new experience, and I came woefully underprepared to deal with an armor 14 5-hull point flare shield armored ceramite monster that it is. So as you can see, that Rhino has now disembarked the veteran tacticals. Those Terminators have advanced on the Cacophony and the remains of the tactical squad. And that Spartan just killing most of the command squad in a single volley, actually putting a wound on Fulgrim as well. Those quad las cannons were just horrible, and it was at this particular moment in time I thought, okay, I'm going to lose this game. I'm going to lose Fulgrim, who's only got a 5-up invul outside of combat, which meant that obviously with the Rite of War I had, that was pretty much game over at that moment. So I came up with a sequence of plans and had to adapt on the fly. So you can see here with me taking some hits and wounds with Feel No Pain, and I finally lost the Apothecary. Although I was getting a rear off I was getting a rear off of something. It must have been the Apothecary, which I forgot to list earlier. There you go. So he's just failed a charge there as well, crucially, on those Terminators, which now gives me a chance to... I've already fired a round of Overwatch, and I'm now obviously going to Fury the Legion with the remains of that tactical squad, alongside those Cacophony. Now what's crucial about that moment is I've literally just killed a model with the Cacophony, and I'm obviously looking at how the Cacophony's weapon rules play out. So his Cataphracti armor is really proving troublesome on that side, but he does fail the test and ends up being taken off the board thanks to the Cacophony's rules. More heavy bolters now into that Rhino that just will not die, including the multi-melter. Now it's at this moment with Fulgrim. There goes the Rhino thanks to the bikes. Fulgrim at this moment decides to charge the Marine unit rather than the even attempting anything with the Spartan. He's only strength 7 in combat, so he can't even hurt the damn thing, which was exceptionally frustrating for me because I thought bringing the Fireblade was the correct call, and then it turns out with the Blade of the Lair, at least I could have actually had a go at harming it. So the command squad go in against the remains of the command squad go in against the veteran squad. He declines the challenge from Fulgrim, which was the smart thing to do. So Fulgrim's only then on sort of 7 or 8 attacks or whatever it was. He does, however, kill the whole unit. Or he may have accepted at that point from memory, and it was only in that conversation following that it was, I should have been declining. But at this point, yeah, Fulgrim is now in the open in front of that Spartan and the Sicarian, which is just bad. He then immobilises himself on the terrain with the Spartan, so that's actually a blessing for me because it does really limit the fire arc, so I can choose to engage from one flank and then hopefully only be facing a single set of las cannons as opposed to both sets, which is what happens now as Fulgrim just takes las cannon after las cannon after las cannon, and the heavy bolters of course as well. And I remember being stood here thinking, yep, here goes Fulgrim. He's not going to survive this. But he does. And awesomely, he is now in a position where he can charge that Dreadnought. And like I said earlier, he's only strength 7, but what it means, does mean he can glance on 6s. But crucially, what it means is that I'm stuck in combat. And while it's a little bit gamey, it was the most sensible decision to make in terms of my tactics. I had to save Fulgrim, and the best way to do that was to lock him up with a Dreadnought that he essentially couldn't kill, while being essentially invulnerable to that same Dreadnought. It meant that all I had to do was stay locked in combat, and hope I didn't roll enough 6s to kill the Dreadnought. The bikes have gone in against the Spartan. Melter bombs there, completely failing to kill said Spartan. A few hull points, but it still lived. And as you can see now, they're just getting gunned down by las cannons on the Spartan, and the Sicarian will have another crack at the moment as well. Thankfully, though, it can't see all the models. It can only see one bike, and that one bike it can't see is armed with a multi-melter. So what that means for me now is I have a jet bike that's just passed its leadership test, and is now in a position to threaten that Sicarian, which is fantastic. On the back side of the table there, the remains of the Cacophony, the tactical squad, and the heavy support squad are basically just consolidating. I'm firing las cannons at that Spartan, the multi-melter from the jet bike at the Sicarian, and then obviously charging it with melter bombs to no real effect. The Sicarian moving there. But that's it.